Hi, this is Ashta with Revela, and I am here with Andrea. And we are going to talk about why it might be valuable to have an outside perspective on your exec teams. So Andrea, you work with a lot of executive teams. What kind of issues or problems might they have had, and why did they come to you?
So many companies will come to Revela and engage them for several different reasons. But one of the things that we are often brought in for is helping with an executive team who has some question that they want to have answered or some improvement. So we'll get engaged because maybe there's an executive team that's really functioning well, but they simply want to challenge the status quo. They want to be pushed a little bit more. They want to be challenged in their questioning and their thoughts or beliefs, and they want to be developed not only to think strategically, but also as leaders. Sometimes you'll have folks who will executives who will identify themselves as a group of people who are not aligned in a healthy way, and that they need to have some outsider help them figure out how to communicate differently, how to align themselves so that they can create a cohesive leadership team, and that the company can be even better aligned regarding their culture. And still, there probably a third reason that we'll get brought in for an executive team, and that is that they spend way too much time thinking about the details of something as opposed to the strategic direction of the organization. I can't tell you the number of times the organization is looking at, what font should go on some document, and it's like, this is not the team that should be paying attention to the font. But we may need to be spending more time thinking about, what are the cultural behaviors that we're looking for, or what customer direction we should be paying attention to. So those are probably the top three reasons that I get brought in to work with an executive team.
When you're working with these executive teams, can you give an example of how you might have gotten them to think differently than they had before?
So as a member of the executive team, as the outsider, what I get to do is I get to listen to how people are communicating, and in some ways the communication is a habit, and I'll be able to be the one that asks the question, so why do you think that, or what evidence do you have that is a fact? Or ask a question, what if the opposite were true? Or what if we were to look at it from another perspective? So having the opportunity to sit at the table and ask the question and challenge the thinking gets people stopped, and you'll get the look like, what do you mean? That's just the way we do it. And at the same time, that's exactly what we need to be challenging is how people are thinking, and is there another way? Is there another way to make it better? But there's also things that we can do, whether it's reading an article or there's a video that shows something in a different perspective, or even a book that we have people read. But it's the discussion of what's the possibility, or having the permission to challenge what's going on without offending someone's area or territory or responsibility, and gets everybody else getting the same permission that I do.
Right. What do you think these executives or even these executive teams should think about if they're thinking about bringing in the outsider?
So, bringing in an outsider is a bold commitment. What the executives need to think about if they want to do that is whoever they're bringing in, they've got to trust that the person that the person who they bring in has the best interest of them and the company at heart. And that when somebody brings the question of, so why are we doing it that way? Or is there another way we could do that? Or is there another way you could say that? Or who should we be looking at as far as, the company strategy or the company clients that we should be paying attention to? Whatever the questions are, they have to be good with recognizing that whatever the question is, it's not an attack. It's simply challenging the way we're thinking. Company's not doing anything wrong. People are not doing anything wrong. People have good intentions, but recognizing that the person who's going to come to the table is going to be asking the questions, and it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. But at the same time, for those organizations that do choose to bring someone else in, they tend to grow a little faster because they're not caught up in the history or the legacy or the politicking of the group that's there. Something else you may want to think about is how often do you want the outsider at your meetings? There are some executives that meet every week. There are some executives that meet every other week. There's some executives that meet once a month. I would encourage you to bring in that outside perspective at least monthly, and if you can meet twice a month, that really actually probably is even more helpful because things move along a little bit more quickly, and you can take a little bit more action. So, an outsider is not for everybody, but I think that challenging the status quo, challenging the way you're thinking is always helpful, regardless of whether you're an executive team or you're some other team within the organization.
Thank you so much for the insight, and you gave some really great perspective as to why it might be important. So I want to ask you, do you think having an outside perspective would be beneficial to your team? Let us know in the comments below.